Hello, today I'm going to show you how to draw a tangle called Flux in a fun sort of way. I'm going to use a Micron 02 in black. But first of all, I'm going to draw a string with my pencil. It's going to be a really sort of simple string, and I'm just going to go up and round and down. You can draw any string that you like. So Flux is a really lovely organic tangle. So I'm going to start down here, and I'm going to start by drawing, it's almost like a teardrop shape. So you bring it up and round and tuck it back, as you can see, a teardrop or a leaf shape. And I'm going to follow the string line. Now, quite often what we do is we use the string as our boundary, as our space. It creates a space for us. So I'm just going to keep tucking these leaf shapes, teardrop shapes into the bottom. So you start off there, bring it round, and as you should always consider doing with Zentangle, stop, slow it down, really focus on the line that you were drawing. Turn your tile to make it easier on your hand so you're not overstretching. Just taking it nice and steady. The focus that you can get with Zentangle increases if you actually allow yourself to look at the end of your pen. Actually be aware of the ink coming out of your pen. Can you see it soaking into the surface of the paper? Nice smooth strokes of your pen. So here it's just going to, I'm just going to sort of try and bring them round these flux shapes so that they still follow that string line. You can see they don't have to be the same size. The lovely thing about doing something called a mono tangle, just really focusing on one tangle, is you don't have to worry, you don't have to overthink. That is probably one of the biggest challenges that many people have, is that they start overthinking what they're doing instead of just simply enjoying the process of putting your pen to paper, watching the ink, giving yourself that time just for you. Okay, I'm going to bring that one around here. So now we've got to this bit, and ooh, what are we going to do? Well, we're going to draw underneath, and that technique is called the holly-ball technique. So I'm going to imagine I'm taking it up there, lift my pen, and it comes back that way. This one, I'm going to take that, lift my pen, imagine where I'm drawing, and tuck it under. There'd be one here, there it goes, and there'd be one here. So you just sort of imagine where that line would have gone if you had carried on drawing over the top of the tangles that you've already done. But with most tangles, we tend to draw them over underneath with that holly ball technique. And if you don't know about holly ball, I would really suggest that you take an introduction class. If you haven't done one, take an introduction class with a certified Zentangle teacher who will tell you so much about Zentangle. Okay, so we've got that lovely flow there. So what I'm going to do now is we've got these leaf shapes, and I am going to almost replicate with a very small flux shape, and I'm going to ink it in. Now with some flux, some people like to do just a single line with a couple of dots. I quite like the slightly bolder, more graphic image that comes when you draw this slightly thicker, skinnier flux. Now what you could do is you could do a whole load of those so you're in the same mindset, same frame, and then add your dots, and that just means that your hand, your eye and your brain are in the same place doing these. Okay, I'm going to do one more and then I'm going to go back and add the little dots. So take your time, don't just sort of dip your pen there, really think, oh, there's a lovely little roundish dot, and there's one. Taking your time. If you find your hand is gripping your pen too hard, just release the pen, maybe put it down, wriggle your fingers. You don't need to over grip. Consciously think about your shoulders, so relax those. And of course, one of the most important things is think about your breathing. Don't hold your breath. Maybe as you're doing something like this, a mono-tangle that is very repetitive, you have a chance to really think about, are you over breathing? Are you under breathing? By that I mean taking short little breaths. And just allow your body to relax, your mind to focus. You don't have to think about anything other than the line that you're drawing. I'm going to pop some of those little dots now. Just allow the quiet. I quite often tangle with no noise, no music. And then other times I tangle, I might have some music on, or I might have something like an audio book. And that's lovely because you can really get absorbed in the book as you tangle. It's a rather nice thing to do. So you're probably just getting in a bit of the flow now of adding these centre stems on your flux, which are coming together. It's nice and steady. In the background here I've got a clock. It ticks quite loudly, but oddly enough it's quite restful hearing it. So maybe you've got something that you find quite calming. Don't put pressure on yourself when you're tangling. You don't have to tangle for anybody except yourself. And you don't have to take a long time, you know, it doesn't need a lot of materials, a lot of space. You can tangle quite quickly. And by that I mean you don't have to take 2 or 3 hours. Of course, if you want to, you can, and I do sometimes. And when you're doing some bigger tiles, or maybe some more tangles, but you don't have to set aside, oh, I've got to set aside 2 hours to tangle. You can do something in a matter of minutes. So really just focus on the process. That's what's most important. It's that creative process that engages the creative side of your brain, that makes you feel relaxed, satisfied. And often you can find yourself in a place of peace and calm. So I'm almost at the end of filling these flux. There we go. And just the final little dots. There we go. Okay, so the final thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to add some orbs, like little pearls that have dropped between these flux leaves. I'm going to do one here. And then behind those little pearls, I'm just going to ink in a little bit. That just gives them a little bit of solidity. What you can also do is you can do a reversed curve. It's a little bit of rounding. It's like doing a setting for a ring, a gemstone, something like that. It's only a little bit, but just finishes off, tidies up where those little orbs are going to sit. So I'm going to carry on adding some more of these. You don't need to do super complicated, intricate patterns. Some of the most joyful moments are doing classic tangles, core tangles, tangles that you know and you don't have to refer to step outs all the time. And something like Flux is one of those that you can pick up your pen and tangle anytime, anywhere. Look how lovely that's looking now. It's interesting, isn't it, how you can add that orb and it just settles in. It just sort of completes what this looks like. The flux looks lovely as it is, but the little pearls just add to it, don't they? And so you're seeing me tangle this in my real time. If you don't tangle at this speed, that's absolutely fine. Maybe I didn't tangle at this speed when I first started tangling. You know, you develop your own pace, and it's not a race. There's no rule that says you have to tangle faster, slower. You just tangle in a way that is right for you, And so here I'm just going around. I really like doing little bits of rounding and filling in with ink. Just come up there. Turn your tile again. Really important to turn your tile rather than trying to overstretch means that your hand, your arm is in the same space, and you're not overstretching, so your muscles are working in the same direction all the time. Let's just add a whole lot of orbs now, and then I can do some inking in. So in this little space here, there's a little gap, so I'll just put an orb in there, and another one there. I'm going to come all the way up here with these orbs now, and then I can go back and do my inking, my little bit of rounding, putting a lovely little setting for that little pearl, little water droplet maybe that's landed between the leaves. You know, you can quite often find descriptions that are linked with nature, with many tangles, and I do tend to describe them in a way that sort of seems right for me. So pearls, water drops. So maybe when you've drawn this, next time you're out, maybe early morning when there's dew on the grasses and the plants, just take a moment to look and say, oh yeah, maybe that's a bit like that flux with the pearls, with those orbs. Do these orbs coming all the way up here, and then I do my little bit of inking again. And you get in a little bit of a flow, that creative flow that happens when you start creating. You know, you trigger off neural pathways in your brain, the feel-good factors in your brain, which is lovely. That's what we want, isn't it? We want to feel good, we want to feel comfortable, content. And I'm going to put a little orb just there and ink this bit in here. And just on the edge there. Okay, so there we've got Flux all drawn beautifully. Okay, so I've now got my pencil and my tortillon, and I'm going to add in the base here, I'm just going to add some graphite in the tails of the flux shapes, using the side of your pencil. Yes, it's a nice sharp pencil because that gives you the most precise side. So try and follow the flow that you did before. Now, some of you will see you've got your string line, and you might go, oh, the string line's in the middle of the flux. Don't worry, because we can smudge that in with our tortillon. So there's some nice bits of graphite. Now with your tortillon, you're just going to tease it up, soften it into place or fix it into place in the base, and then you can start incorporating your string line. So here I've got a bit of a string line, so I've just smudge it with my tortillon. You can see I'm not taking the graphite all the way up, so the tops of the flux are going to remain white or light. Let's put a little bit more graphite down. The side of your pencil, not the point. I explain in my Shade with Confidence course why you don't use the point of your pencil and you use the side. And look how lovely that looks by adding that graphite just into the base of those little leaf shapes. It makes them look like they're all growing out of one another. the dark of the graphite, tucks them in. Okay. And if you need to, sometimes when you're shading and you're using your Tortillon, you might lift a little bit of the paper surface, the paper fibres, if that happens. And I sort of do it automatically, and I did it just now without thinking. You might have heard me go, and that's just me blowing little bits of graphite out of the way, little bits of paper fibre out of the way. And this just looks, I love doing tangles like this. That sort of, well, I love tangling. You start off with a plain small piece of paper, and then lo and behold, you end up with something rather lovely, and you've given yourself time to just be creative. That is so important for your well-being. Not just your mental and emotional well-being, but also your physical well-being. Just giving yourself a chance to slow down. Just nice and steady. Make sure that your tortillon isn't, or paper stump, or whatever you're using to blend, isn't blunt. You need it to be sort of fairly fine so that you've got a little bit more precision. Okay, the only other place that I'm going to add it is where these, the whole ribbon of flux goes underneath. I'm just going to make that a little bit darker there, and turn my tile and do it a little bit. So what comes underneath is a little bit darker here. Bring this up this way, and then it means that the flux ribbon that's on the top actually looks like it's going over the top. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to get my pen, and down here I'm just going to initial it. So always initial your Zentangle R, own it. And so I use a J, well, it's a Z or a Z and a Jo for Zenjo. You can initial it with your initials. So there you go. There is your flux ribbon with some little tipple orbs. Thank you for joining me.